Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler Podcast. We're glad to be back and have you join us. Before we begin, we just want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for helping make the Smiling Homeschooler possible. They're an amazing math curriculum and an amazing company. Our family uses them and I used them growing up, and it's just gotten better and better. So if you haven't checked them out, you should definitely try it over at teachingtextbooks.com. We really appreciate their support. We also want to say thank you to Samaritan Ministries, a community of Christians that pay one another's medical bills, helping families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or ministry changes or in bringing mom home. You can learn more over at samaritanministries.org/familyman, and we appreciate their support as well. But Dad, if you're ready, go ahead and get started. Let's go.
I am. Well, hey everybody. I just got off the phone. I guess not off the phone. Off the line with a group in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We did a Zoom meeting. It was super fun, super interactive. If you'd like me to do that with your group, I'd love to be a part of that. You can fill out a form on our website where it says Have Todd Speak, and it's interactive and fun, and it's a great time, and it's inexpensive. So you can have me, and I can still sit in fact, I got a shirt on right now that Ben can see, but I'm just wearing my crummy shorts underneath on the lower half, so it doesn't matter. I could be in my underwear. Nobody would ever even know. So take advantage of that and contact me. I'd love to be a part of that. But it's a good time here at our house. The weather's crisp, but not cold. So that's nice. Ben's getting ready to go camping this weekend. So Ben, are you all ready?
Yep, the yearly Pentwater trip. We go up to Pentwater, Michigan with our marriage group. This is like the 4th or 5th year we've done it now. But the kids love it. Hudson the other day said going on our family vacation is his favorite week of the year. Going to Pentwater is his favorite weekend or 2 days of the year, or whatever it is, 3 days of the year. And then we did that. We talked about it earlier, but the bucket list day of this summer, that was his favorite day of the year. So our kids love it. Just finished packing up everything in the old Suburban today and hooked it up, and all the lights came on and everything seems to be working. So fingers crossed. But this is always a good shakedown because this is like a month before we go on our actual vacation for the year. So taking the camper in the Suburban's always a chance to work out any major issues before we go do that. So
did I say how much I love not having an RV?
Hey, but there is just something, and you know this, but there's just something fun about
there it is.
That's your good memories and hooking it all up, and I don't know.
And I will say that if you're contemplating doing camping, do it while you're young, because like Ben, I mean, it feels so much more doable. I would just go out. In the old days, I mean, I couldn't even handle it now. But when you're young and have all the energy, you just don't know no better. And so you go and have, so don't wait till you get older. Do it now.
Yeah.
But Ben, I was thinking maybe we could talk today about, I don't know, when to do school, or when to do something when it's boring. Is it okay to be boring? And when you shouldn't do it if it's boring. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Because my wife, your mom, asked me to listen to some, and I'm not going to say what they are, but she asked me to listen to some teaching audios. And she gave me a couple different varieties to listen to that somebody's given us some samples, I guess. And I listened to them this morning, and they were, very uniquely distinct. So one had some music and soft spoken, and one was, "Hi everybody," and energetic. And but as I listened, and I looked at the sheer volume of CDs, there must have been 7 CDs in each pack. I thought, there is no way a non-doctoral student could make it through this. I mean, either one of them. You could listen, but I just think your brain would freeze up, and I don't think you'd get anything out of them. Now I said, how about we let our son listen to each of them, and if he wants to pick one. But in my head, I'm thinking, he won't be able to make it through all those. I can't believe anybody could make them through. And I just thought, man, this is why I'm not into just doing stuff because somebody decided we should teach stuff, and if it's boring, maybe we shouldn't do it. But then I knew some well-meaning mom would say, yeah, so what about math facts? If math facts are boring, are you just not going to do those? So I thought maybe that'd be a good topic that we could talk about, when is it okay to be boring and when is it not okay to be boring? And maybe Ben has lots of good answers on this. And does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, totally. And I think this is super important, just not even just in, in school, but just in life nowadays. There's just so many opportunities for entertainment. And I am a huge culprit of this. I'm a audiobook podcast listener, YouTube videos, whenever I can squeeze it in when I'm not playing with kids or doing something, if I'm mowing or walking or whatever it is, I'll try to listen to something, but that's it. That is entertainment.
Which makes it a huge pain when you're going, Ben.
Yeah, totally.
Ben! And he's just smiling, walking across the yard.
Yep. But, so there's just so many opportunities now. But that is something that, Dad, you've always been a big advocate for, is just letting your kids be bored, because that's the time that they can just play. They'll, play better. And we see that with our kids, when they've been like doing something that's really, really entertaining and they don't have to be creative or just be imaginative, then that's when they really start just moping around and they only want more entertainment. But if they, have some space just to play, once they start playing, they will stay entertained for hours and hours and hours, but so I've seen some good studies and YouTube videos and just, kind of like talks and stuff on just the power of that boredom. And I think that's really important. I feel like Jenny Urich has kind of talked about that too, with 1,000 Hours Outside, just kind of that, just spending time together outside will spawn so much just great stuff, even if it's not structured, but anyways, on the actual school side of things though, I do feel like my first thought is it kind of really does depend on the subject, I feel like, and probably the bent of your child to some extent. Yeah.
Because don't you think you could fall into a trap though, of thinking, even one of our cartoons is like, in our official book of homeschooling cartoons, is this mom who's got a clown costume on and she's going, she's juggling and spinning plates and going. And so the, 7 times 9 is, and where you fall into this trap of I have to make everything exciting and fun or they're not going to learn anything, because you've even seen them. I mean, we've even tried it.
We advocate for that to some extent.
Right,
I mean, we kind of hope for like engagement and making it more fun and creative, but continue.
But there are people who sell math fact things that every, 6 times 6 equals thirsty sixes. Which
that is the only way I remember any of those, though, to be fair. So,
but that's the only one I remember, and there were times where we had the cards and I just want to go, can't they just learn that 6 times 6 is 36? I did, everybody else did, and so sometimes I think for a mom, it could feel like, are there things that we just slug through, and are there some things that maybe we shouldn't slug through, or that we should do? I mean, really, case in point would be, in the 70s, I heard that this guy was challenged to try to teach some teaching principles through some simple animation and a catchy song. And that's where he came up with Schoolhouse Rock, where lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. And really, that would be some of the only reasons. If people ask me now, what's a noun? In my head, I go, a noun is a person, place, or thing, but you unfortunately can't put a song to everything you ever need to learn.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well, and I feel like people have kind of, we might have actually flopped or switched it, where we've done like a lot of our effort to make it more fun and engaging has been put in the things that are by nature more boring, or could be, and the things that could be really interesting and on their own have kind of become the boring things, so like and just accepted. So like math, for example, math facts or whatever, for a lot of kids, unless you just love math, that is something it is just a lot of effort and a lot of, it's just numbers. So there's not like a ton of variety in terms of like, oh, today we're going to cover this, and today, it's just this is working through stuff methodically over time. And that can be kind of boring, honestly, unless you just love it. So there has been efforts, to like teaching textbooks. It's fun, it's engaging, it's way more interactive. That's awesome. But then I feel like the thing that is often accepted to be boring is like history, which could easily not be boring by default, but it is become boring and everyone's okay with it being boring. And it's just,
so if you were going to teach it, Ben, if you were going to teach history,
yeah,
I mean, without, like sitting down and telling her, I mean, how would you approach history? I mean, you probably wouldn't go. You know what kids really like to do is they like to have 739 pages of text
Right.
on the Prussian War, with some diagrams of how the battle plans were laid out. That probably wouldn't be how
Right.
you would want to teach it, right?
Right. It's just, I mean, at the especially younger age, it's just about the stories and just the things that happen. I mean, my kids even now it's just I love it when they're just asking. And he asked, like, are there one of them? Renly said, are there still World War II people who fought in the Civil War still alive? And I was like, no, that was like 150 years ago. And then she's like, what about World War II? And I was like, yeah, there's still some. And then they were like, how long ago was that? And it's just, I think it's so funny because they don't know anything. Like there's so many things that our kids know nothing about and that happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun opportunity to not even, again, you don't have to get into the details, the dates. You don't have to get super in depth on the details. It's just the sharing stories of things that happened in the past. And I mean, almost anyone's interested in that to some extent. I mean, again, you don't have to get in the nitty gritty of like how Parliament worked back in the 1500s. It's like, just go like broad strokes, of things that were interesting, crazy, weird, those kind of things. And
But that's really not how education has been though for most of time. I mean, even now you'll see,
because that's just hard to test. Like, how do you test that?
Right. But it's almost expected. There's in Matilda, not the musical, which is an amazing musical, but Matilda with Danny DeVito and there's Miss Trunchbull who's teaching, and she has this saying behind her desk that says something like, if you're smiling, you're not learning, and schools kind of perpetuate, or televisions kind of even make fun of that, where you'll see a classroom of kids and they're all dozing off, and the teacher goes, in 1967, troops were sent to, and he's just reading, droning on, and their heads are back on the desk, and they pan through the class, and really.
I mean, the history teacher and Harry Potter, that's what happened. See, he's a ghost because one day he just walked in and kept going and just ended up, dying or whatever,
Exactly. But I just think homeschooling can be so much more. And I think sometimes we see some of that stuff. We just pick it up. We say, oh, so we have to, because I see them at homeschool conventions. I'll see, somebody's offering a history program, or all the different programs, and they're just textbooks stacked to the ceiling, and people go and they put history, show them, and they put in their shopping cart, whatever literature, stack it in there. And I mean, our kids really, when they were young, PBS, they were masters of this, with like, not in history, but in science or zoology was Zaboomafoo or Kratz Creatures, and even Maggie will say to this day, all I've learned about animals, about the eye with its real long fingers, is from, Kratz Creatures or something like that. And I just think that's engaging learning really at its finest.
Or just having the zoo books or whatever it was. But our topic was not just how can you make things more engaging and fun, is it okay to have things be boring, So is it okay if math facts is boring? Are you doing it wrong? Are you failing? Or is it okay if spelling is just not the most engaging fun thing in the whole world? Maybe you can work in some Scrabble and some other spelling things here and there. But
your bad spellers will still be bad spellers.
Is that mundane? I was talking actually to a friend of mine. He said he's never been good at spelling out loud, which I 100% agree about. But he said he did like the spelling bee, and he went to like the regionals or whatever it was. And I think he said his first word, he got it wrong and they beeped him and he was out. But he said he spelled the word and he got like almost back to his seat. So he's like, great, I did it. But then they finally beeped him because it just took a delay or whatever.
Hey, how about before we answer that, let me just say we want to thank Samaritan Ministries for being part of the show. For the last 8 months, you've heard me talk about Samaritan Ministry and how we joined 15 years ago and couldn't be happier. Well, I think we're happier because Samaritan Ministries recently launched an additional sharing option program called Redeem Health Share because they understand that each family is unique. That's why they now offer new programs and new features in Redeem that are designed to provide access to comprehensive, affordable care tailored to you and your family, all on a digital platform. Here are some of the things they offer: flexible programs to fit your budget, freedom to choose any provider anywhere, a new program specifically designed for seniors, an add-on feature that allows for sharing things like dental, vision, preventative care. If you've been wanting to join Samaritan Ministries, this just might be the option from them that you've been looking for. Learn more at redeemhealthshare.org.
And we also want to thank our sponsor, Teaching Textbooks. And we were talking about, math can be boring or whatever else it may be. Traditionally, I would say that is true. But for me, Teaching Textbooks changed everything. Same for my daughter, for my siblings. They make it an engaging, fun thing. So if you are struggling to math and your child is just not engaging at all, and you haven't checked out Teaching Textbooks, or even if you did a long time ago and they've changed it they were on multiple versions from where I've started, and it just keeps getting better and better. So you can definitely go check them out over at teachingtextbooks.com. We appreciate all their support.
Okay, now to answer that question, are there times where math, facts, and spelling can be boring? And I would say yes. But again, it's kind of like you're weighing its importance, aren't you? I mean, because it's like I'm not into scientific classifications of animals. I don't care about their genus, species, whatever the other parts are. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if my kids don't care because it's pointless. I even heard on the radio some lady who was a biologist, whatever, and she said, we're the few people in the whole world who care about these classifications, because they were saying, this is a new classification of a bug, because there are just a few people, so I don't care about that. So if it's boring, I'd say I'm not going to do that. But now math facts, I think, is super important for everybody, not just mathematicians. It's for everybody. I mean, your kids get hamstringed if they don't know that 7 times 7 is 49. And I hope that's the right answer.
Yeah, we did work on them throughout, but I've never got to the point where I feel like I could instantly rattle them off instantaneously. Like there's some of the higher ones that I still would struggle with, like 9 times 9, 81, I think, right? But not, 9 times 7, I would have to think for a second, So
this is almost like me telling Ben right now that he's adopted. I mean, this is like shocking news to me.
Is it
I'm
really?
just like,
all the
honey,
things
we failed as parents.
So I'm not saying we worked on them a lot. We did them a lot. I got most of them. We'd do the races. We'd see who could say it the fastest. We'd do all that. But I have always been bad at memorizing specific things. And, honestly, it's, I have some tricks for getting to most of them quickly.
Please tell me it's not thirsty sixes.
Hey, it's, sick on the floor is still fine. But
those are the things that you still have to plug away through them. You slug through them, and I'm teasing all about what I just said about Ben. But he is adopted. Hope that doesn't come as a shock to you. But, we didn't care about if they were good at it or fast at it, or we just plugged away because we knew it was important, because it makes it slows you down later on if you can't do some of those. Same thing with spelling. I believe with all my heart that good spellers are good spellers and bad spellers are never good spellers. I'm one of those not good spellers. But my wife did spelling tests all the time. She did spelling words. We didn't expect them to get them all, but we just keep plugging away. My wife looked at different programs trying to think which ones would be better, which ones are more engaging. There weren't any. They were all just slugged through in different ways, whether you have...
Oh, we might have lost him there. Daddy there? Well, I think the stream is still up, though, so we'll see if we get him back here in just a second. But I don't know. Let's see here. Hang on, I'm going to text him. What I was going to say is, the plugging away is tough. And that's where I do think understanding the importance of it and how... Oh, we just went black there, too. is going on? Give me a second here. I got to get this going again. Bear with me, everyone. If you can listen, I'm getting Dad re-added to the call for some reason. Not sure what went. My Zoom just crashed. It made me do an update, and then now everything's changed. So hopefully we can get that resolved. I never like changing anything on our technology because you never know when it's just going to fail. All right, here he is. Maybe. Hey, you there? I think my Zoom crashed. All right. I got it where you said just plugging away, and then that was where it cut. You remember what you were saying? Sometimes you're just plugging away, and then, yeah.
And then you die. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was saying, I do feel like that, obviously that's where the weighing then comes in. Cause I mean, and it's going to be different for every kid. And that's where it's also a little bit tough, but you get to know them better than anything. And I think the sad part is, and a lot of times in schools, if a kid is just getting bored with something, you know, that starts becoming an issue with, they have issues with attention and they have issues with, you know, participating and whatever else it may be. But as a homeschooling, you know, mom, you get to understand why they're being bored. You know, if it is just the methodicalness of we got to plug away at this versus they're just not interested in this, or they're so much farther advanced in this stuff we're talking about here. And we can move around and adjust as needed. So I think there's a lot of options, even in the boredom, to hopefully make it a little bit better. It's not just for the sake of doing it. You know, that's the biggest thing. If the boredom is just for the sake of doing it, then I think it might be bad boredom. But if it's for the sake of something they need to learn, but it's just not super fun all the time, then I think that can be good boredom. If that
and
makes sense.
I again, we've talked about this in the past, but you know, sometimes I think that there are other avenues that teach it more engagingly. Like I said, Zaboomafoo, you know, or some of those animal shows. You know, we kind of look at them and we think, oh, that's not real learning. That's a bunch of baloney, because it is real learning. I mean, I just always go back to a guy who's super smart. I mean, he went to Harvard Business School. And he was saying that he had to take physics and he could not understand from the textbooks that they in his college or his university. And so he went to the library and he got basically elementary school books that explained simple physics or complex physics in a simple way. And he said, I learned way more doing that than I did from and that's because they boil it down into an easier level to digest. I think those shows that, you know, talk about words and lolly, get your adverbs here, I think they have done that. They've distilled it in the best part of learning. And I would totally count that stuff all as school. I would not just say that's fun to watch. And even my son Jed said today, or maybe it was yesterday, he said, you know, when I read something, he goes, it just does not stick in my head. But when I watch something, because I said, what about the stats, you know, that you see about John Morant and all that? He goes, but I'm watching it. He goes, it's just interactive and engaging, you know. And I think so. I know Debbie tries to do some video stuff with him, you know, and I'm the same way. I'm a picture person. I like pictures, you know. And so if you just do it a traditional, boring way, I say in my head, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't care.
Well, I think a lot of that, again, is coming back to it's being told in a story, you know. So if you're like watching a video of, hey, this little mouse and it's, you know, going through this on, you know, planet Earth or something like that, they're creating a story along with the visuals, so it sticks with you. But if it's just you're literally just reading data, like that is not an engaging thing for very many people. You know, sometimes I like a lot of history books that are like that, but at the same time, like the stuff that really does stick with you is story. So, I mean, that's why, I think we've talked about it 1,000 times, but reading with your kids is so powerful, and is so valuable. Like, never
Good books.
underestimate.
Good books.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the living books, like the ones that are stories, like Ben said, if you go to Sunlight or, you can see huge lists of all those good books.
But never underestimating the power that is, even if it's not technically we're going through a textbook. It is just such valuable stuff. But, sometimes, especially in those winter months, it's probably going to be a little bit boring, especially as you start getting in, I feel like, the routine. I always remember, like, those first few weeks to month or whatever, it does feel fresh. It does feel fun, Dad always, we talk about it, but running for the first whatever feels fun, maybe, or it's horrible. And then it gets fun because you're like, oh, I'm making progress. But then when things start becoming more routine, it does a little bit of that newness wears off.
Slogging.
Just some of the, I got to push through even when it's not just fun all the time. And that's okay. Doesn't mean you have to throw everything out necessarily.
But I will say, moms, you get to decide. So if it's something and you, like I've heard my wife say it more than once, I just cannot stand doing this curriculum another day. And so I say, hey, then don't, and she moves on. And sometimes just a change makes something that might be boring, just looking at it in a different light, add some excitement to it or some differentness to it. So, hey, Ben, I'm ready to close down because, like I said, I've been doing this for a little while now. I'm not getting bored, but I am getting tired. So I want to say goodbye to everybody. Have a great week. I hope you're enjoying this weather. Take advantage of this perfect weather. It doesn't matter if you're like in Arizona or you're in Alaska. These are the days before it gets really cold or before it gets coming out of really hot. So enjoy these days because they're short, because that's the most important part of your whole homeschool and the things you're going to remember forever. And, of course, that will make you smile.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to Teaching Textbooks, as always, for making this possible. We really appreciate their support. And to Samaritan Ministries, a community of Christians that pay one another's medical bills, helping families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or in ministry changes or in bringing mom home. And you can learn more over at samaritanministries.org/familyman. Have a great week, everyone. Don't forget to smile. See you next week.